You're 45. You drive the same car you bought used at 29. You've worn the same three coats in rotation for over a decade. Somewhere behind you sits a version of your life other people kept waiting for. The bigger apartment you never upgraded to, the vacations you never posted, the dinners you skipped so quietly nobody even noticed you'd left the group chat. Last month, a coworker, half joking, half not, asked if you ever regretted missing out on everything to save like that. You told her no. She laughed like you were being modest. The strange part is, for a long time, you weren't sure you believed it either. You just never said it out loud because saying it out loud felt like handing someone a reason to feel sorry for you, and you'd spent 20 years making sure nobody had that reason. This isn't a story about being cheap. This is what one habit cost you and what it built instead. You're 23. Everyone around you is upgrading the way people do in their 20s without quite noticing they're doing it. Your roommate leases a new car, posts the keys on a dashboard with a caption about finally making it. The group chat fills with fire emojis. You type one too. You mean it mostly. That night, alone in your room, you open your banking app and move $40 into an account you don't have a name for yet. Not saving exactly. Something closer to a held breath. You are 25. Your best friend gets engaged and starts talking about the wedding as a registry, and at dinner, someone asks what car you're driving these days in the tone people use when they already know the answer will be underwhelming. You say the same one from college. Somebody laughs, not unkindly, and says something about still saving up, huh? You smile. You don't correct them. Driving home, you do a version of math you've never admitted to anyone. Not a spreadsheet yet, just a feeling. What that new car payment would cost you every month for 6 years, laid next to a number that doesn't exist yet, but that you can almost see the shape of. The two pictures don't match. You don't decide anything that night, but you notice the gap. You keep noticing it. You are 27. A relationship ends, not badly, just honestly. He wanted the version of adulthood that looked like something from the outside, the apartment with the view, the trips that got posted, the watch he'd been saving up to buy since he was 19. You didn't want the performance. You wanted the number to keep growing quietly where no one could see it. He said it felt like you were choosing a spreadsheet over him. He wasn't entirely wrong, and that was the part that actually hurt. You ended it on a Sunday, both of you certain, which is its own strange kind of sad. Your mother calls it impractical. Your brother calls it some kind of control thing at Thanksgiving, loud enough for the table to hear, and you feel your face do something you can't control. You don't argue. You pass the potatoes. Under the table, your hands are steady. That surprised you more than anything anyone said. You are 29. You buy your first index fund position with money you'd been calling an emergency fund for 2 years, even though you knew deep down it was never really an emergency fund. A coworker who makes twice what you make asks why you still bring lunch from home when the company practically pays for delivery. You say you just like it that way. You don't say that the $40 a week you're not spending on delivery is the same $40 from your 23-year-old self, still moving, still becoming something. You stand in your small apartment that night and feel something you don't expect, not deprivation, scale. This number, small as it still is entirely yours. Nobody co-signed it. Nobody needs to be consulted about where it goes. You're 31. The market drops hard, the kind of drop that makes the evening news. Your brother calls, not to check on you exactly, but to say, in a voice that's trying not to sound satisfied, that he's glad he actually enjoys his money instead of watching it disappear on a screen. You don't argue with him either. You just keep the automatic transfer running the way it always has because you already know you're buying more for less right now, and panic is the only thing that could actually cost you something. You've stopped explaining the math to people who've never run it themselves. You are 33. A friend from college, married 4 years now, calls you late on a Tuesday, voice thin. She and her husband are underwater on a house they stretched for, a car they refinanced twice, a life that looks finished from the outside and feels like a treadmill from the inside. She says she loves the life they built, but some nights she does math she's afraid to say out loud, and she asks if that makes her ungrateful. You tell her it makes her honest. She cries for a while. You listen. You don't say the thing you're thinking, which is that you've never once had to lie. Awake doing that particular kind of math because you started running it 15 years before you had to. You are 35, you get offered a role that pays less upfront but comes with equity, real risk, the kind of leap that would require a family meeting, a joint account negotiation, a spreadsheet of compromises if there had been anyone to negotiate with. There isn't. You say yes within a week. Your brother, when you tell him, says, Must be nice, not having anyone else to think about. Not unkindly, not entirely kindly either. You let it sit there. You're 37, you start therapy, not because anything is wrong exactly, but because you want to make sure the life you built was actually chosen and not just defaulted into out of fear of ending up broke like your parents were. Your therapist asks a question that sits with you for weeks. If money had never been tight growing up, if there'd been no fear behind it at all, would you still have lived this way? You sit with it a long time. The honest answer surprises you. It's still yes, not because you don't value comfort, but because the specific shape of that particular life, the one everyone else was building, was never the shape you actually wanted. It took you almost 15 years to stop treating that preference like a character flaw. You're 39, your father's business fails quietly, the kind of failure that doesn't make it to family group chats until the bank calls. You're the one who covers the gap without blinking, without a family meeting, without touching a single thing you'd need to touch. Your brother, humbled, says he doesn't know what the family would have done without you. You don't say what you're thinking, which is that this flexibility isn't luck. It's the exact thing you built on purpose over 16 years, precisely so that, when it mattered, you wouldn't need anyone's permission to show up fully. You are 41. You check the portfolio on a Sunday morning out of habit, the way you've checked it once a month for 2 decades, and the number on the screen doesn't look real for a second, not because it appeared overnight, because it's the sum of every lunch you packed, every car you didn't lease, every must be nice you let sit there without correcting. You don't post it anywhere, you just sit with your coffee and let it be true. You are 45. Your coworker asks the question gently, the way people ask things they've half rehearsed. Do you ever regret it? All those years of going without? You tell her no, and this time you mean it completely. No performance underneath it. You think about the group chat at 23, the car you didn't lease, the Thanksgiving table at 27, both of you crying in your own way, both of you write about different things. You think about the small apartment at 29, the market drop at 31, the late night phone call at 33 from a friend doing math she was afraid to say out loud. You think about your father's bank call and every dinner where someone said, "Must be nice," like an accusation dressed up as a compliment. What you built instead of the version everyone else was building wasn't restriction. It was a different architecture entirely. A life with fewer fixed monthly payments and more compounding rooms, built specifically so it could hold whatever actually showed up in it. A father who needed help and didn't have to ask twice. A friend who needed to be heard instead of judged. A version of yourself at 23 who didn't yet know that cheap and free were never actually the same word. Here's the rule nobody tells you until you're standing on the other side of it. The comments people make about the money you didn't spend are rarely about you at all. They're about the math the commenter hasn't run yet, still owes on, still isn't sure adds up. Must be nice, wasn't jealousy exactly, it was exhaustion, looking for somewhere to land. Your brother's Thanksgiving comment wasn't cruelty, it was his own fear of a spreadsheet he'd never let himself look at directly, wearing your discipline like a warning label instead of what it actually was. A life built deliberately, dollar by someone who stopped asking permission for it a long time ago. Somewhere right now, someone is 23, watching a group chat fill with new car keys and leases, feeling a held breath they don't have a name for yet. They think the silence in their account means something is missing. It might not. It might just mean they haven't built the number yet because nobody around them is asking the question out loud. They think the answer has to look like everyone else's answer. It doesn't. Sometimes the answer isn't the lifestyle you build. Sometimes it's the number you build instead quietly for 20 years because nothing else was asking to be paid off first. Maybe you already started. Maybe you're 27 in a parking lot, certain for reasons you can't fully explain yet.